नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone today for our Gita class. Today we are doing something from the 9th chapter, verse number 9.4 and 9.5. These two verses sometimes seem a little difficult, but they are amazing, very interesting, and interestingly, they have a lot of application as well in our life. So let's jump into it right away. So I'll just read the verses first. Text number 4. Maya tadamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitah. This is 9.4. I'm reading the translation by Srila Prabhupada. By me, in my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. Okay. And then text 5. Nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogam ishwaram bhuta brinnacha bhutasto mamatma bhutavavanaha. Translation. And yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulences. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation, for my very self is the source of creation. Okay, so these are these two verses in the 9th chapter. And if you see, in some ways, apparently there seems to be contradictions in some ways, right? Like Krishna saying in 4 that all beings are in me, and then in 5 he is saying nothing is in me, nothing is resting in me. Okay, so these are amazing. So what are these verses really talking about? So this is what we are going to do today. Okay, so what I have done is we have just broken down for today's discussion. We will be discussing part by part. So I've just made this whole verse, 2 verses into 5 parts. First is Maya Tatamitam Sarvam Jagad Avyakta Murtina. So this is one part of today's discussion. Then Matstani Sarva Bhutani, Nachaham Teshvavastitah, then Nachamatstani Bhutani, and then the other part, Bhuta Brinnacha Bhutasta, Mamatma Bhuta Bhavanaha. So we will go one by one. Okay, so let's go into it right away with the first part. Maya Tadamidam Sarvam Jagad Avyakta Murtina. Okay, so what is Krishna saying here? He's basically saying that in his unmanifested form, he is pervading the entire universe, right? Jagad Avyakta Murtina. He's talking about the unmanifested form. Okay. So now, and in the second part, he's saying, all beings are in me, but I am not in them, he's saying. Okay. So one thing is, it sounds as if it is going against the 10th and 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, because if you carefully see, in 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna going to speak? Krishna is going to say how everything is in him, right? That is what universal form is. You see the 11th chapter Bhagavad Gita, in the 11th chapter, we see the whole universe in Krishna. Okay, that means everything is in Krishna is in the 11th chapter. And the concept of seeing Krishna in everything is in the 10th chapter, correct? Because in the 10th chapter, we see how Krishna is in, of course, he starts that from the 7th chapter itself, how he is in the taste of water. And then later, right, among the Pandavas is Arjun, among Daityas is Prahalad. So basically seeing Krishna in everything. Okay, so this theme is also there in Bhagavad Gita, right? From the 7th chapter itself, Krishna is teaching us how to see him in everything. But interestingly, here he's saying that I'm not in them, he's saying. Okay, so what is all this? What is happening? Okay, so that's where the confusion or the question comes up, right? So let's start with the first one. Means this is talking about the Brahma Sthiti, right? Brahma Sthiti. Okay, so if you see, this is also in technical language sometimes called as Brahma Satta. Okay, this particular Brahma Sthiti, this is considered, this is the only thing which the Shastra calls it as Nirapeksha Satya. Nirapeksha Satya means it doesn't depend on anything, right? Nirapeksha. It doesn't depend on everything. Everything else in the universe is called as Adina Satta. Adina means it depends on something. Just like, for example, why have we come into this world? Because of our parents. Why have our parents come? Because of our grandparents or their parents. So basically, this world is such that everything, every satya or anything that happens has a dependency. Correct? So if you say what is it that has no dependency, then that is called as nirapeksha. मतलब किसी के ऊपर भी निर्भर नहीं है. Okay, so that is the Brahma, and that is what he is talking here. Avyakta Murti. He is there. He is the, Krishna is saying that in that particular form of his, he pervades the universe. So that Brahma Satta, that is the Nirapeksha Satya. But otherwise, if you see the universe, and interestingly, if you see, even when the incarnations of the Lord come to this world, even they come through some opening, correct? As in, they also externally have a dependency. Like Narasimhadev also, even though he comes without parents, he comes through a pillar. As in, even he takes apparently the support of a pillar through which he manifests to this world, correct? So it's not that he just, right? So every avatar, even if you see avatar like Varaha, he comes through the nostrils of Brahmaji. Okay. And of course, Lord Krishna comes in the womb of Devaki, Ram comes in the womb of Kausalya. So the point is that even avatars, interestingly, they appear to take a support, as in a dependency on something. It may be a tomb, it may be the nostril of Brahma, it may be the womb of their mother, but they come. But it is only this Brahma which has no such, dependency factor. It is considered always there independent. Okay. So if you remember last time we did in the question answer session, we did have a discussion about this, right? Impersonalism, personalism. We did have a discussion about this particular thing. Okay, so I wish to start from that point. So if you see, our philosophy also is called as Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, right? So there is Bheda and there is Abheda, right? Abheda means that non-difference. And Bheda means the difference. Okay. Now, if you see carefully, even in the Bhagavad Gita, right, Krishna is talking about Abheda Tattva also. Correct? He is talking about it in several ways. And in fact, in many places, he talks about it quite favorably also. Like if you see the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is talking about knowledge in three modes, knowledge in Sattva Guna, if you see carefully, Krishna is basically talking about knowledge in Sattva Guna in terms of Abheda principle only. Correct? What is knowledge in Sattva Guna? If you see verse number 20, Krishna is saying that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen everywhere is in the mode of goodness. So that is Abheda. That means seeing a uniformity everywhere. Correct? And in fact, in 21 verse, Krishna talks about Bheda. That knowledge by which you see in every different body, there is a different type of living entities in the mode of passion. Okay, so because the discrimination is coming, that is considered in the mode of passion. You are distinguishing. Okay. So the point is, Abheda also has its, role in the world, right? So okay. So let's give a practical example. So this may be a little philosophical. Let's give a practical example. So just like if you see a village, okay. So Govind Prabhu was making this observation based on his experience. He was saying that in villages, traditionally, like in a village, when a person does some work, or he wants to help, he's supposed to see the whole village as one. Correct? Only then he can help or do some project in a village. Imagine somebody is in a village and he wants to start some particular effort. Let's say he's trying to create a new water system or something. If he wants to do that, then he has to consider a equality between all villages, right? That means he's supposed to see that all villagers are like me only. They are all my people and I'm doing it for everyone. I mean, from that perspective. But interestingly, it seems in today's India, in some places, because many villagers, they get influenced by politicians, etc., they join certain political parties. And it seems once they join a political party, they identify with that party mode. Okay, so somebody will call himself Congress, BJP, whatever. So a party mode. And then they feel that I will help or do something for someone who belongs to my party or my jati. Right? So whatever it may be. So then that becomes Veda, correct? So I hope everyone is understanding this. So that is Abheda means you are sitting in a village and you want to do something for people. Then if you see an equality among everybody, then that is your actual vision is Abheda. But if you see, okay, I belong to this this jati, I'm going to help only this jati people, or right, I belong to this political party, these people only I'm going to help first. So then what happens is then that becomes Veda Buddhi because you are discriminating over it, correct? So in some ways, if you see, so this is like, if you see in some sense, a practical way of seeing the importance of Abheda, right? That's why also if you see our Acharyas, this appearance is there day after tomorrow. So if you see, he would emphasize on this point of Abheda in his own unique way, where anybody would come to ask prasad or something, or I mean, a genuinely poor person, not like professional beggars in cities nowadays. A genuinely poor person would come and ask. Then he would always emphasize that you should give that person because there is an abheda. Right? You don't distinguish when you're giving. Right? You give everybody equally. So there is that abheda principle that is also having a significance in one's life practically. Okay. And even if you see in many ways, if you see even philosophically now, Abheda is, if you see, in terms of observing the world, it becomes very foundational. Okay, so I'll just digress from this and come back to this very quickly. So, I'm doing this course on Vedanta. So in the course on Vedanta, they were teaching us about the nature of the Atma.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, your voice is breaking, and they are for others also it is breaking.
Oh, okay. So voice is breaking. So I'll just stop my video for some time. Maybe it will become okay. Okay. So is it better or something? Because sometimes we stop the video, then I think that consumes some bandwidth. Okay. So I'll try this. So I was doing this course on Vedanta. I was saying. So in this course on Vedanta, we were discussing about the Atma. Okay, so we all know Atma's characteristics, Satchit Ananda, correct? We have heard of this from DY session 4. Satchit Ananda are the three characteristics of Atma. Okay, but as per the Vedanta, if you see more technically, if you go into Vedanta, it basically says that among these three qualities, this chit which is there, knowledge, jnana, this is considered to be the main constitution of Atma. That means the Atma is actually considered as a unit of conscious knowledge. Ananda is said to be property, kind of. It's supposed to be blissful and it is eternal always. Okay, so it is not literally made out of eternity or eternity and knowledge. Sorry, eternity and bliss becomes its characteristic in some way, but jnana or knowledge becomes its most essential central theme, of the Atma. Okay, so why I'm saying this, I'll tell you. So we all have a buddhi, right? Man, buddhi, ahankar, we say. But Vedanta, what it says is there is a difference between the Atma, which has chit or jnana, and the jnana of our man, buddhi, ahankar. The difference is the jnana of our man, buddhi, ahankar, it can only there is no cognition of it, right? So there is something called jnana and cognition of jnana. Okay, so I'm sorry if it's getting a little technical, but please pay attention. I repeat again, there is something called jnana, and the second thing is cognition of jnana. Okay, so if you see the buddhi which we have in man, buddhi, ahankar, it has jnana, but cognition doesn't happen. That means nobody understands that particular knowledge. Okay. But on the other hand, if you see this, what shall I say? 1 second. Yeah. On the other hand, if you consider the Atma itself, if you consider the Atma itself, the Atma is not just jnana, but it is also having the ability of cognition, right? That means it understands that jnana also. So it's not just jnana, but it is also it is able to do the cognition of it. Okay, 1 second. Has to be muted.
Prabhuji, voice is slightly breaking.
Okay, my voice is breaking. I don't know what to do about this.
Prabhuji, internet is, I think, okay. It is a problem with your sort of wireless mic, I suppose.
Really? I don't know if I have taken the wireless mic off. It's going to be better.
It's clear now, Prabhuji. It looks like it's a little shuddering because of the.
Yeah, now it is okay, Prabhuji. I think voice.
It's okay. So maybe that was the issue. Okay, so let's try like this now for some time. Okay, so as I was saying here, yeah, we were talking about jnana, right? So that means the Atma, the main characteristic of the Atma is jnana. So I'll tell you why we are talking about this over here. We're talking about this in the context of abheda or non-difference, because imagine, when people, that means, just try to imagine, okay, just look at this painting here. So what you see here is this painting of Raja Ravi Verma, right? This is a painting of Ahalya Moksha. So when people see such a painting, when you see such a painting, then immediately the first feeling of the jnanam, the Atma which is there, the Atma which is there, the immediate feeling of this Atma is literally, it becomes one with the painting, right? As in that means when you see something and when you experience something and when you say, wow, it's so great, then you become one with that particular thing. Okay. So maybe painting is something which we may not be appreciating so much. So we may not understand this example much, but imagine these cricket matches that go on, right? When a cricket match is going on, like an India-Pakistan match final is going on, let us say, and everybody is watching, literally everyone becomes one, right? In terms of the knowledge, correct? I mean, their consciousness, their focus is exactly one. Everybody in India is thinking the same thing. How our batsmen will hit a century, how they will win the match, how they will take the wickets of all these fellows. So basically what is happening is, there is a advaya or a oneness that is happening in terms of the chitta, in terms of that conscious knowledge of all the people who are focusing on that. Okay, so these are all examples of oneness, okay, abheda, which exist. Simple examples. So they exist always in every domain, every field, etc. Okay. So the thing is, these kind of examples are given to show you that in the observation of the world, you will see abheda happening, right? Okay, sorry. So that is why. Okay, so these are considered examples of abheda, where there is a oneness in feeling when you see this. But then again, at the end of the day, one does a bheda, right? That means even in the cricket match example, ultimately there is bheda only. You have to understand, okay, some people are playing, some are watching in the stadium, some are sitting and watching at home. Some who are watching at home are very rich people. They are having air condition and everything. Some are sitting in a slum and watching. Okay, so then Veda is also there. Veda means that discrimination, to understand that every living entity is different, as I read from the 18th chapter. Okay, but the 18th chapter is also talking about that oneness principle. So this oneness principle is called as Abheda, whereas this discrimination is called as Veda, and everything has its use, right? Like Prabhupada used Veda. For example, when he told the Americans that what is the use of you being an American if you cannot do something big? Okay. So what is Prabhupada doing when he says such a statement? He's basically encouraging them on the platform of Veda. That means saying that, see, you're different, you're American, you're born as an American. You're not an ordinary guy, you're not somebody else in the world. Right? So you need to necessarily do something great. Okay, so this way, Veda, both are going to exist everywhere. Now let's take the simple example of gurus.
Okay, if you take gurus also from an Abheda perspective, there is this entire tattva of gurus, right? For example, if you see all the acharyas, Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And so many people that have come after that, so many people who were there before that, they are all gurus. Okay. So in one sense, when we obtain knowledge from so many gurus. And that Guru Tattva is considered one. Right? We always say that Guru Tattva is one. Okay, so there is an Abheda in that. But then again, there is a Veda or a something like we say, okay, these people belong to this sampradaya, their guru said this, our guru says this, our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada, he says this, he says something has to be understood like this. So the point is, Veda is also there. So my point here is that in anything, whether it is from a cricket match or whether it is understanding knowledge from gurus, in every spectrum in this world, we always necessarily come across Veda and Abheda. Okay, where Abheda as in to see the non-difference and Veda as in to see the. But the point, interestingly, is one has to see both. One has to see both. Otherwise, if one sees only one, then I told you what is the challenge, right? Like I gave the example of a village or anything where, so because in the society one has to see a little bit that oneness also with everyone. You cannot always see separate. That's exactly what is happening in this hijab problem, right? This hijab thing, this whole thing which is there, it is because too much this Ved, why were all these people against it, in Karnataka and all that? Because it creates that Veda too much. Okay, so in a school, when people come to study in one organization, why this whole concept of uniform is there? Whether it is police, army, doctor, why do all doctors wear the same uniform? Why do all nurses wear the same uniform? Why is it there like that? To create an Abheda principle, to create a oneness among all of them. Because if everybody wears one thing and comes, then somehow that Abheda is getting disturbed, right? Because they need to exist together, they need to feel we are one. Correct? We are all one police force. We are all army people. We are all school children. Okay, so in a school, imagine, if there is no uniform or something, then the spirit of oneness among the children doesn't come so easily. So these are simple things actually, why this is there. So this is a simple example of the hijab controversy that is happening because, because that religion teaches them too much bheda. We are different, so their whole religion is only based on that we are superior to everyone else is kafir or whatever. So it creates that distinction between me and you. And then they say that you should take us also in. How does that happen, right? You have to, if you want to be part of everyone, then you have to literally be together with everyone, right? You cannot always keep talking about Bheda like that and tell the other person only you should do a Bheda. Are you getting it? So similar thing about secularism, everything if you see, you can apply this particular principle here to understand that in the world, in the real world that is there, both these things are needed, Veda and Abheda. And that's what this verse is. Maya tadamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. Krishna is saying that through his unmanifested form, he is all pervading in this universe. So because he's all pervading, so the Abheda principle is being spoken in this verse. So please remember, this is not the Mayavad that we are talking, right? So last time also we had this discussion. Okay, the Shastra, the Bhagavad Gita is talking about this Abheda principle. That doesn't mean that you become a Mayavadi or something. That's a completely different thing. So Shankaracharya's philosophy is very modern and recent. Please remember. Correct. Shankaracharya's philosophy of Mayavad is very modern, but the principle of Abheda, of oneness, is always there. It is there in Gita, it is there in Upanishads, it is there. And in practical life also, in many places, it has to be there, like I told you. Like we gave so many examples of it. Because if that is not there, it doesn't work properly. Okay, so this is one thing. Okay, now coming more specific to this particular thing and the connection of this line to the next line, Maya tadamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. So if you see, this you will read in Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, Prabhupada also talks about this Brahma Satta as Brahma Sampatti in first canto. You see this term comes, Brahma Sampatti. Okay, so Prabhupada gives the example in Chaitanya Charitamrita. You see the favorite example of all Vedantic scholars is of clay and pot, correct? Clay is considered the substance. Okay, and from the clay the pot is made. And who makes the pot? The potter. Okay, so the potter is considered the nimitta karana. Okay, and the clay is considered the upadan karana. right? The Upadan Karan is like the more basic cause of something, material cause. And Nimitta Karan is called instrumental cause. Okay, so that instrumental cause, in one sense, if you see carefully, that instrumental cause is not always going to be there, correct? Because once the potter makes the pot, he will go away, but the pot will remain, and the connection of the pot to soil will always remain. Are you getting it? So similarly, for example, our parents create us, as in they give us the bodies. So in some sense, so they are like the um nimitta karana, right? They are the instrumental cause. But at the same time, the upadan karan, that means the constituents out of which our body is made, is ultimately coming from this Brahma Satta only. It is like the clay from which it has come. Are you getting it? So that is why. So I'll tell you how this understanding becomes important. So this understanding becomes important because this is how it is connected to the next two things. Because in this verse, what is Krishna saying? Krishna saying, I am not in them, right? If you see, Maya tadavidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina, Krishna saying, Matstani sarva bhutani nachaham teshu avastitaha. He's saying, I am not in them. So if you remember earlier, we said, right, that in the 10th chapter, Krishna is teaching us how to see, him in everything. Okay. So the thing is, so see, it's like this. We see divinity in our parents, as in we see that divinity in parents, but literally nobody is supposed to see parents itself as God, right? As in, though when we say our parents are matra devo bhava, pitra devo bhava, what the Vedas are actually referring in that is to see that divinity in them. That means they are representing that Krishna Shakti in them. Or just like, when Krishna is saying that I am Prahalad among the Daityas, it doesn't mean literally Prahalad is Krishna. Okay. So this is how it is connected, because these people are the instrumental cause. Okay. So they are respected. We are seeing that divinity, that Brahma Chaitanya in them, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that they have literally become God, so to speak. Okay. So that distinction is always there. Okay. Now coming to the next part. Now this is so this is the first part of our discussion. So till now we have covered only the first part. In the first part we were speaking about Maya Tadamidam Sarvam Jagat Avyakta Murtina. So quickly recapping what I said that how the Lord is all pervading in terms of his Avyakta impersonal form. This is called as Brahma Satta, or Prabhupada calls it Brahma Sampatti. And this is the only thing which is Nirapeksha Satya, we said. And then I also said that how that's why Veda Abheda, right? And we said this is not Mayavad. Abheda is always important. We give so many examples. So I said Abheda because the living entity, the essential quality of the living entity is Jnana. Okay. And we gave examples how when everybody sees a painting, a beautiful painting, or a cricket match, or a music concert, we all become one in that. Because everyone's knowledge and consciousness is focused only on that. So there becomes a oneness, right? And this is important practically also. We said how, like in a village, when you help people, or right, so you're not supposed to see always too much bheda like that. Okay, so these are some simple examples we gave in this particular context. Okay, okay. Uh, and even in gurus, I said the same thing exists, right? Like there is this whole tattva of gurus where there is oneness among them, but at the same time there are individual gurus also. So then there is dvaita over there. Okay, so both these things always exist. Okay, so this is the first thing that we said based on that. The second part of this verse is very interesting. Matstani sarva bhutani. Can you imagine what Krishna is saying here? Krishna is saying in Matstani sarva bhutani that nothing exists without the Brahma Vastu. Basically Krishna is saying that I am there everywhere, right? Now I'll tell you how this really makes a difference. Matstani sarva bhutani, if you see this particular verse that I'm quoting, Krishna is saying in this that all beings are in me. So because the whole universe is in him, as per this particular verse of the Gita, the implementation of this verse, at least from Krishna's perspective, is that he has no dvesha or envy. Okay, no dvesha or envy means, as God, if you see the psychology of God, if you see the Abrahamic world, in their God is called as a jealous God, right? So I have put up a verse which is from the Exodus. It's a biblical statement. I, the Lord, your God, am a jealous God. And there has made a lot of elaborations. If you just type jealous God on Google, you will get so many quotations where he's saying that you should not bow down before anybody else. You should bow only before me, and so many things he says, like, correct? So that's why if you see in their particular thing, so even for example, simple things like if you see the picture paper, the photograph down, I've shown a photograph of so many people doing tarpan to their forefathers. Okay, they're bowing down to their forefathers. Such a concept cannot be accepted at all by the Abrahamic people, right? Because their perspective is that how are you bowing down to your forefathers? First of all, they are dead and gone. They may have not even been a devotee or whatever from their perspective, right? Because they will say that they respect only somebody who is belonging to that faith, right? Like we have discussed this many times, now. Like for a Christian, if their father or mother is not believing in Jesus, they go to hell only, and they have nothing with them as such. But our system, it's not like that, right? Irrespective of whatever faith our parents may have professed, still we do tarpan and everything by bowing down to them. Now, why is this getting accommodated? If you carefully see, it is because in some way Krishna's psychology also is that he is not threatened by anything, because Matstani Sarva Bhutani, everything is in him only. So from his perspective, when someone bows down to, whether it may be Pitra, whether it may be some Devata, whether it may be a devotee, in whatever thing, that is all included in him only. And he has absolutely no feeling of any insecurity or feeling that like this, like a jealous God concept, like how like this it happened. So like a beautiful story in the Bhagavatam is that it is said that once after it's in the Mahabharata rather, after the war was over, Yudhishthir Maharaj saw Krishna sitting and meditating. So he asked Krishna that, can I ask you, whom are you meditating on? So Krishna said that I am meditating on that person who has never committed any sin, who is Anagha. And he said that this is Bhishma. Okay, so immediately one may feel that how come Bhishma did not do any sin? So the answer is that Bhishma may have had some dosha or fault, like in the gambling match, he didn't support Draupadi. That's considered a fault actually. It's not a sin. As a person, he was sinless. As in, right, as a character of Bhishma, he was a Anagha, a completely sinless and a pure devotee of the Lord. Okay, some faults may have been through his life, like dividing the kingdom between Pandavas, Kauravas. So some things he must have done like that, which come in the domain of fault, but not technically a sin. So in any case, so there is a difference between dosha and papa. So dosha is like a fault. Okay. And for that fault, one is punished or whatever. So that's a different thing. But the point is, he was saying that I'm thinking, and then we know that how Krishna takes all the Pandavas to him. And we all know the story, right, in the Bhagavatam, that Krishna is taking all the Pandavas gorgeously decorated. And when Bhishma is seeing the Pandavas, he is also getting attracted to the Pandavas. He is also crying in love for them. Pandavas are also crying in love for Bhishma. There is so much of love and respect and everything that they are exhibiting for each other. And interestingly, Krishna here is least, what shall I say, threatened by any of this, because as in he's not feeling that, oh, this person is about to die and he's investing so much of his mind in all these people, what will happen to him? No, nothing like that. The reason again is Matstani Sarva Bhutani, correct? Because everything in the world is connected to Brahman. Okay, everything in the world, everything is in him. Okay, because everything is in him, through anything also, through any of these objects also, in a way one connects to the divine and the supreme is not threatened. So that's the contrast which we are trying to bring out right here, like the Western religions vis-a-vis Sanatana Dharma of Matstani Sarva Bhutani. Okay, now if you see the next part, Nachaham Teshu Avastitaha, right? This becomes even more interesting. Krishna is saying that, but I am not in them. I am not in them. This can be seen in so many different ways. One way we can literally see I am not in them is that Krishna is not to be brought too much into this creation again and again. That means, one shouldn't, whatever is happening in the world, one shouldn't bring Krishna always over there and say that he has done this. Okay, so just like our finance minister during the COVID time, she had said actually, whatever it may have been, she said that this coronavirus is an act of God. If you carefully think about it is actually not correct actually. It is not, this whole pandemic or whatever it is happening, to say that it is his act as if he did it, it is actually not like that. He doesn't, we should not make him so small minded by bringing him into, tiny affairs of this world. Okay. Our Shastras are very clear about it. This whole world is operating at a level of action and reaction, cause and effect, correct? So this is there in Vedanta. So one cannot simply bring him into every small thing. Now, again, if you see in the Western, I remember this many years back when there was this earthquake in Kashmir. When there was an earthquake in Kashmir, most of the Muslim people over there, when the earthquake happened, they ran out of their houses shouting in Kashmir, in Urdu. Basically, they were shouting, Allah Muafi. Allah Muafi literally means, oh Lord, please forgive us. Okay, the reason why they say is because in all these religions, uh, these kind of things like earthquake and all is seen as an expression of Lord's anger against us. That means he's very angry with us. That is why he's causing all this bhukamp and all that. That is their thought process. If you look at this particular verse, na nachaham teshu avastitaha, I am not in them. That them includes everything, the universe. We cannot bring him into everything over here, saying that hey, you are only responsible for this earthquake. You are only responsible for the pandemic. We cannot do that, right? Because that goes against this verse, that goes against the whole spirit only. Okay. Narayana Parovyaktat. Okay, if you remember, that's why, right, some days back, if you remember, I think in last to last class, we discussed this interesting verse from the second canto Bhagavatam, chapter 10, text 45. It says that, I'm reading the translation, it says, there is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of this material world. What is described in the Vedas about his direct interference is simply to counteract the idea that material nature is the creator. Okay, please go back and read this verse 2:10:45. There is no direct engineering by the Lord for the creation and destruction of this material world. And Prabhupada also, he always quoted that verse, na? Narayana Paro Avyaktat. Lord is beyond this material creation. उनको इससे लेना देना नहीं है. So here the Bhagavatam is saying he doesn't have anything to do with the creation and destruction of this material world. It says that this concept is told just to tell you that see material nature is not independent. इसके लिए थोड़ा कभी-कभी Vedas बोलते हैं ये point, but don't take it so much. Okay, so we will elaborate on this. So if you look at all these statements from this perspective, whether it's an earthquake or coronavirus or anything, to bring God into everything, it doesn't fit, and that's what this verse is also saying. Nachaham teshu avastitaha. I am not in them. Okay, so we can't keep bringing him down to this. So like we always give the example of Pune Municipal Corporation, right? Like Pune Municipal Corporation, we can't bring Narendra Modi into that. I mean, practically also, like if the road is not being built by the corporation people, we cannot say that Narendra Modi is in charge for it. No, he has nothing to do with it actually. He is somewhere else. He's working on another platform only, right? I mean, this is a mundane example, but this example is also given by all of us, right? Like if you may go in the Pune Municipal Operation office and you may see Modi's photo there, right? The people may have, the mayor of Pune may have kept his photo in the background, but that doesn't mean that he's responsible for what is going on, right? These things are all auto work mode or whatever, they are done by other people or whatever. So similarly, Nachaham Tesh Avastita, he is not in any of this, so we can't keep bringing him into it. So similarly, so why this is also important, practically speaking, if anything wrong happens in our life also, so many things, like let's say two devotees are there, their marriage is not going on well or something, they cannot bring Krishna over there. Na? So the idea is that when good things happen, we offer gratitude to Krishna. That is to be done. That must be done. Correct? Because that is how we will increase our bhakti and our devotion towards him. So if anything wonderful happens, we always offer the whole thing as a gratitude. Manasa deho geho, everything we offer as a gratitude to Krishna. But if it doesn't work, we cannot put the blame on Krishna. I mean, we cannot do the other way around. Right? We are allowed only one thing. Okay, you can express gratitude only to him because that is the matter of heart. We will again talk about that also a little bit more. Okay, so we will yeah. So right. so in simple things like I mean, let's say imagine we're getting late for a flight or something. We cannot say, "Oh Krishna, please delay my flight." I mean, it's even foolish to even think that Krishna will come and do that, right? Nachaham teshu avastitah. We cannot bring him at a very small level and ask him to work like that. He's at a much higher level of existence, right? Like we read from the Bhagavatam. He's not even directly involved in the creation and destruction the Bhagavatam is saying. Okay, so to bring him into small things is terrible. The only thing we should do is do well and offer gratitude and results to him. Okay, so that is what is the whole spirit of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so this is how you understand this was Nachaham Teshavastita. Another way we understand Nachaham Teshavastita is again comparing it with the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, right? Because there Krishna is saying how to see him in everything. Okay, now he's saying that I'm not in them. So how do you understand? Because here he's saying I'm not in them, and there in 10th chapter he's saying how to see him in everything. So that means we understand that when we see Krishna in everything, what it means is we are seeing that divinity, right? That Brahma Satta, that Vibhuti as we call it. Vibhuti is not incarnation. Vibhuti is not avatar. Avatar is Krishna himself. Vibhuti is something different. Vibhuti is opulences. So anything you see very attractive in this world, you immediately are reminded of Krishna, thinking, oh, wonderful, this person is so beautiful, he is so strong, he is so intelligent. So that intelligent is a reflection of a spark, is a vibhuti of Krishna's original unlimited intelligence, right? So we see Krishna in that person's intelligence. So that is how it is, but it's not literally that, right? So Krishna is not in them. So that way also you can understand that particular. So these two is, so this has this practical understanding. Okay. Now moving ahead to the last part of this particular discussion. Nachamatstani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram, right? So what is Krishna saying? Nachamatstani bhutani. Nachamatstani bhutani, he's saying that and yet everything is not in me. Now again, if you see na, it's something amazing. In the previous verse, Krishna said all beings are in me, correct? He said Matstani Sarva Bhutani. He said all beings are in me. And now in 9.5 he's saying Nachamatstani Bhutani. Everything is not in me. So what does this mean really? I mean, everything is in Krishna or everything is not in Krishna, right? So what is actually happening? Okay, so let's just elaborate this point. Okay. So basically, so just like, so we'll give an example. So from Shankaracharya's life, there is this story, right? The story is based on that statement from the Upanishad, Sarvam Kalvam Idam Brahma. Sarvam Kalvam Idam Brahma means everything is Brahman. Okay, so then Upanishad Vakya. So everything is Brahman. So that story is there, right? Shankaracharya, he goes to a liquor shop. He says that this liquor is Brahman, I am Brahman. Brahman goes into Brahman and he drinks it. So some of his followers also drink because it is something very nice. But then Shankaracharya goes ahead and he sees a iron being melted, right? Molten iron. He says this molten iron is Brahman. I am Brahman. Brahman goes into Brahman. He drinks. Again, nothing happens to him. But then everybody else shivers. So basically, that means what we understand is everything is Brahman. So okay, so now we are coming to one statement which is important. So everything is Brahman. This is a philosophy. Okay, this quote is a philosophy, and there are so many things like that in our Shastra which are a philosophical reality. But in behavior or vyavahar, it is not like that. So please try to understand the difference. So there are so many things. I'll give examples very quickly. There are so many things in our Shastra which exist as a philosophical concept. Okay, but in behavior or reality, you literally don't bring anything based on that. Okay, so we'll give a simple example. Take the principle of karma only. Karma is a philosophy, right? Whatever you are destined to earn, only that much you will earn. You cannot earn 1 rupee more than that. But how will you bring it in your behavior? I mean, what does that mean? Does it mean that literally we just don't do anything and sit and whatever we are supposed to get, we will get according to our karma? It will not work in behavior. Are you understanding this? Simple example of karma. It exists in philosophy, that whole concept of karma. It's a philosophical concept. It is true. It is a philosophical concept. But in behavior, you cannot actually bring that. Okay, like we saw this Bhagavatam verse also. This whole concept of Lord being the creator, it's a philosophical concept. But in vyavahar or literal behavior in terms of the external world, it's not like that. It's actually not like that, right? That's why if you see carefully, our Shastras, we have discussed this before. Like in Vedanta, Vedanta has one entire conception of universe being created just like the Big Bang theory. Okay, I think once in our QA group we discussed that point also. That means the whole concept of expanding universe and everything. If you see, it's very close to Big Bang theory, because in so many ways the whole universe is automated process. The Lord, imagine human beings are able to automate in factory. The Lord is so intelligent. Why will he not automate? Where does he get into it in a literal sense directly? Correct. So there are so many things like that which are philosophical concepts, but you literally don't bring that in behavior. Like this statement, everything is Brahman. It's a philosophical concept. Literally, you cannot bring. You have to distinguish. Now you have to bring Beda over there. There you cannot say Abheda. Correct. You have to distinguish. This is liquor. This is molten iron. Shankaracharya, what he showed by that example is that he is beyond all that. So he is able to take both, and nothing happens to him. But for common people, you cannot apply that philosophy like that. So here, we come to another very interesting point, that philosophy itself, that is why if you see traditionally, philosophy itself was majorly discussed among those who have that Brahminical, I'm not necessarily saying born Brahmin, but those who have Brahminical intelligence can only handle philosophy. Common man, if he's given, we have seen that also in our experience. A common simple guy, if he gets a big philosophy, he may actually not know how to bring that into his vyavahar or behavior. He will think that these things have to be literally put into my life. No, it's not like that. So many things, like for example, Kunti's prayers in the Bhagavatam, right? Janmaishwari Shuta Sribir Yedamana Madapuman. She says that, what is this? All these things are terrible, and she's saying, right? It is not literally to be brought in Vyavahar, right? I mean, in fact, the Pandavas, their whole life they worked for all the four only. Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shribir, everything. Okay, so many things are there like that. They exist in philosophy, they exist in prayer, they exist as a mood inside. But you don't literally bring it out. You don't literally sit like a poverty-stricken beggar. Okay, the Pandavas didn't do that. So why we are saying this here is, similarly we need to understand this Nachamatstani Bhutani. So the Lord said that all beings are in me, but at the same time he's saying that everything is not in me. Everything is not in me. Okay, so both things are true. So if you see these two verses, so much they are bringing again and again the point of Veda and Abheda. Correct? At one level, he's talking about the oneness of him and the living entities, and then he's talking about the distinction also. Both he's talking. In just one verse after another verse, he's talking about this, right? Look at the next line. This is the last line of our discussion. Right? He's saying, Bhuta Brinna cha Bhutastha. Bhuta Brinna cha Bhutastha means Krishna. Bhuta Brinna means he's the maintainer of all. Then he's saying, Nacha Bhutastha. Nacha Bhutastha means I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. Can you imagine? He's saying that I am the maintainer of all, but he's saying I'm not there. So what does that mean? Okay, so that's why we need to balance between this philosophical reality and the vyavahar. That means in terms of actual external action, right? Like karma principle, I said. Even like we say, not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna. Okay, now not a blade of grass moves without the sanction of Krishna. In one sense, it's a philosophical reality, right? It is like it has its existence. It doesn't, right? In Vyavahar, you cannot always bring that. I may put a fan and then suddenly a blade of grass may move or whatever, right? So you may not always see it exactly like that. Okay. So similarly, so Krishna has created systems. He has created the universe. He has created Varnashram Dharma. He has created all these things. He has given us the Vedas, Samskaras, everything, right? But at the same time, all these things exist independent of him. Okay, I get married, it becomes my responsibility to ensure that my married life is going nicely and offer that result to Krishna. I cannot say that he has to maintain my marriage literally. No, he is not going to maintain our relationship. He will not do that. As in, if I make a mess of my relationship with my family, then it's going to be like that only. Okay, I cannot say, I cannot bring him over there. I cannot bring my karma over there. So this is the point in these two verses. Okay, so we'll just conclude and then maybe take questions. So essentially, these two verses put together, they are talking simultaneously about an inner reality which we all have to be conscious, and a practical reality which all of us have to be conscious. The inner reality that Krishna is talking here is that of a rishi. That means a rishi who is there, he's having this consciousness that I am only an observer. I am doing nothing. Everything is done by either Brahma or Krishna, depending on whether you are Advaitavadi or Vaishnava or whatever, right? So this is the inner reality, where internally I'm always thinking that I'm only an observer. मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ actually दुनिया में आके. या तो three modes काम कर रहे हैं, या तो it's all by the mercy of the Lord. It is all happening, due to that only. I'm doing nothing. So this is the inner reality which we have to be conscious, and that is what 9.4 is about. Correct? Because 9.4 Krishna is talking about it. Krishna is saying that by him only the whole universe is pervaded. He's saying everything is in him. In 9.5, he said he is the maintainer of everything. He said all that. So this is all for inner reality. But the same two set of verses are talking about the necessity of we being conscious of the external practical reality. And what is the external practical reality? That we are the Purusha. Purusha means what? We are the master of our surrounding. Whatever I do, it is going to happen like that, right? My children, if they do tuition properly, if they study nicely in 12th standard, they will get good admission in college. If they don't study hard, they will not get admission. Okay, now I can't bring Krishna over there saying that he's the maintainer. He has said here, he has nothing to do with all this, right? He has said all these verses only. He's not in this. He's saying that I'm aloof from all this, right? Even ahead, he says the same thing, that he maintains a distance from everything. Okay, so the point is, both these realities are there in these two verses. That's why we have to be careful that sometimes we make statements. I'm sure many times as devotees in a conversation, we may make, this is Kali Yuga, I say hoga Kali Yuga mein. Actually, that's a very dangerous statement if you see it what's it. That means we are basically pushing the whole buck on Krishna only. That Krishna, you decided that this is Kali Yuga, and in Kali Yuga things will be like this only. You have already pre-decided. So what can I do? In Kali Yuga, you have already pre-decided marriages are not going to work. So many divorces will happen. You have already decided that. No, you cannot say that. It's a very dangerous statement, right? Because whichever yuga it is, you have to work hard only to get all these things right. It's not that in Satya Yuga or Treta Yuga, husband, wife, there also they will have to work hard to ensure the relationship goes well. In Kali Yuga also, just like we have to work hard to ensure that our family goes nicely. In any yuga, you'll have to do that, right? In any yuga, you have to work hard. You have to, right? So it's not that. So that's why that's what these two verses are basically talking. Essentially, in one line, Krishna is asking us to be a rishi within and a purusha. That means an actor without. Okay, and we can be a rishi within only with this understanding that everything is managed by Brahma Satta. Everything is done by Krishna. Okay, and we can be a Purusha without understanding that no, he's not there in everything. Unless I do something, it's not going to happen also. So that is, so both these realities are simultaneously there, and this is how these two verses present this particular thing. Okay, Hare Krishna. So I think I took a little more time than what I actually wanted to. I wanted to have only 40 technical issues and everything today.
Okay, so any questions? One second. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, I've unmuted somebody. I don't know whom I unmuted. Urdu, I'm unmuted or?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir, you have muted me.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, actually, I was having one question regarding the point which you made, like small things we should not ask to Krishna, like flight example you were giving. So I remember one example by Prabhupada also, he tells the story of the old woman who was having the stick on her head and God appears to her and that stick fell down and she asked that, please keep it again on my head.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. But at the same time, Prabhuji, if you see my life personally, so I feel that from Varnashram perspective, I am in a Shudra class, because I am working for higher classes and earning salary. So now my desires and my ambitions, they will not be very broad-minded how a Brahmana or Kshatriya or a higher class will have. So it will be small and, sometimes such things, they help in bhakti. Because it reduces our tension, like, for example, if you ask Krishna, like, give me a flight in time so that I can attend let's say some program or event. So what is I mean, how we can ascertain like where we should pray for Krishna for attaining our desires and where we should not? Is there some benchmark which we can have for this, or because I have to see from my perspective also, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
agreed.
I am
So
a small
even if,
person,
so
so
I agree. So even if according to our reality, na, we make such a prayer or request, we have to maintain an absolute nishkama bhavana in that. At least that much, if we do, it is fine. Because right, so because right now, because in the real sense, right, flights are obviously controlled by government inefficiency or efficiency or whatever. Na? So to expect that Krishna will delay the flight because I am running late, it's too much actually, right? But again, as a gratitude, as a dependency, we will take shelter in him only in everything. It may be such a small trivial thing also. But one thing is philosophically we have to be aware of what is happening, and second thing is there is a complete nishkamatha in that particular situation. Understanding that whatever is the consequence, I'm going to accept it, and if something wonderful comes out of it, I'm offering it to Krishna. That's the end of it. Right? Anything wonderful that comes out in whatever we do, we make that as a gratitude offering to Krishna. But anything terrible happens, that we cannot push it on him, right? Because that we'll have to necessarily take it as our stupidity only. Yeah.
yes, Prabhuji, got it. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Listen, Prabhu, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji, am I audible?
Yeah, very well.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're audible.
Prabhuji, you are giving us like yes, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, you are giving the example that something and our in between. You have given the example of the marriage. Suppose the marriage life, relationships, or in the sometimes a person works so much hard, we see that he is not successful in a relationship or in the job, and we see in the astrology also that there are some problems with the astrological charts. So the karma is coming behind na, for all these things.
Yeah. So
You are
what is
telling
the question?
that we cannot bring the karma, that it is our karma, we cannot bring the Krishna in between, we have to work over it, but sometimes it does not work in certain areas.
Yeah. No. 1 second.
So there the
No,
karma is coming from the previous partner, and Ashti is proving it also sometimes.
No, I understood that. I didn't say in that context. I was speaking in the context of this karma. We say na, that according to your karma only you will get money, right? Many times people think that, correct na? We preach sometimes like that, right? That it's there na, in the philosophy that as per your karma, whatever
Yes.
quota you have to get, you will get. Prabhupada writes also that na, in so many places, that the amount of wealth you will earn, it is all prefixed according to karma. Right?
Yes.
My point is that philosophy, it is a philosophy only, right? How are you going to bring that into action literally? As in, what do you mean? Like you will not go to office and you will get money like that? Somebody will come and give you cash at home, right? It may have worked for who is that, Srivas Thakur or something, correct? But in behavior, you can't bring that philosophical concept, right? It stays as a philosophy only for you and me. For you and me, isn't it not staying as
So
a
from
philosophical concept? Unless you work hard, you're not going to get money,
Okay.
right? If you leave your job today, you're a doctor, you leave
Yes,
it and
yes.
go back to Dehradun and sit in your house. Will you get money every month? I mean, externally, it is not clear how you will get. That is what I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Okay,
why I was
okay.
making this
So
point.
from
that
internal we can have
philosophy,
that
na,
consciousness, but
yeah,
we should try our best.
Of course, internally, so I already told you that. Na? That is why I told you na, that philosophy also na, is actually only for, in
Yes,
a sense, very hi-fi philosophy is only for those with the Brahminical thought process and ability to process it. Otherwise, ordinary person, so many times we see that na, ordinary person, you give a very high philosophy, he cannot handle it also. He cannot handle it. He can make a mess out of his life with it. Because something that is not to be brought in behavior, he may bring it into his behavior. फिर उसका बैंड बज जाएगा. You understood now what I'm saying? philosophy is a double-edged sword, right? It can be handled only by some people who have that ability to do that. I mean, I'm not talking about very simple concepts, but concepts like we are talking, like the simple example of wealth. Okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Pretty long back, you told me once that Krishna's mercy has always been best, has always bestowed to us in the form of his instructions, scriptures, chanting, and everything. So now when we pray, so are we supposed to pray that? No, so it's all about Purushartha again. So when we pray to God, is it just to to be able to do Purushartha better, or what is that mercy part then?
Yeah, good question. We pray so that we are so we pray for several things, but primarily my understanding is we pray for ensuring that we work according to our purushartha and ability. Correct? If we have an ability, and if I'm not going to actually deliver the goods as per that, I need the strength, to act like that. I need that inner strength. That inner strength is coming to me by God's grace only, right? He's saying that in 7th chapter Bhagavad Gita, he is the Paurusha, he is the ability in man. So for my ability also, I need his grace only, right? Without his grace, I will not have the ability. Like Arjuna is saying that without now Krishna is gone, I couldn't even protect these ladies. I was defeated by some simple cowherd men. Because, right, my ability was gone. That ability by which I did such wonderful acts, that is no longer there with me now. That Krishna has gone away from this world. Okay, so from that prayer also we understand that Krishna's grace we need, so that in every task that we do it with our complete ability, complete focus, and we do it most importantly in the right consciousness, so that we don't go away from dharma. That is also an important thing, right? When we are acting in the world, to stick to dharma, for that also we need that intelligence from Krishna, right? Otherwise in the world it is so easy to get diverted and go to adharma platform. So there also we need his mercy and prayer. So everything like that. Correct?
Thank you.
But the most stupid thing to do is not to do anything and say that he will do some magic, right? Like I don't study only and I say that I know only 2 things in the exam. Please ensure that only those questions come in the paper. So that I cannot do, right? It's like
Pretty long back in
too much
NS
to
camp.
ask.
Long back in NS camp, you different explained there's a difference between the Tengalis and the Vadgalis. One of them where the Purushartha is more important, and one Acharya emphasized more on the Daiva, for the monkey and the kitten example. So how do these people operate? Especially the people who are into who I guess it was Pillai Lokacharya, who emphasize a lot on the Purushartha part, or the opposite.
Okay. No, actually, we did give that example, but I will want to study their thought process more. That's a very, I think we have a very sometimes superficial understanding of, just with one example, we cannot label their entire sampradaya that, they'll emphasis only on this, others only on this. It would not be so easy. I would say that if you go deep, then both aspects are there in both. Just that they are leaning a little more on one side. It's not that the other aspect is completely rejected. It can never be like that. That goes against entire Bhagavad Gita only. Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else with
Hare
any other
Krishna,
question?
Prabhuji.
Yeah, Rishabh.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, I had this one doubt. Suppose there are there's a couple, so they are having issues in their married life. So one thought process is that it is in their karma to that they will get miseries. And other thing is that didn't they check their charts before? And in that there are two things. Even if they had checked their charts, was it that if the bad thing was going to come, still it would have come, even if he would have got married to somebody else?
One second. I lost some words of what you said. Can you just repeat that? The last part?
Did you have a question, Prabhuji?
Yeah, the last part, can you just repeat? I think I just missed some part of it. You are saying
So
that,
I was telling that if so, yeah. So I was telling that if that thing would have to come into their life, even if we would have checked the charts before. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
yeah, I'm hearing. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So even if they would have of whatever he's facing today.
Okay. See, no, it's never like that. See, then what you're doing in that question, na, you are de-emphasizing that entire role only of prayatna. Please try to understand. See, otherwise, then the question is, why should anybody see the chart only for marriage? Are you getting? That becomes the consequence of your question, right? Just get married to anybody. Whatever karma has to happen will happen only. Are you getting my point? Hare Krishna? Haribol, am I audible here? I don't know whether I'm not
What?
audible to him or not audible at all. Haribol?
No, we can hear you.
I can hear you.
I think I lost Rishabh. See, the
No,
point
I can
is,
hear you.
no. So my point is very simple. If you come with such a conclusion, then what is the result of that conclusion? The result of your conclusion is that whether you check horoscope or no, just get married to anybody. Whatever has to happen will happen only, na? That's what you're saying, right? So no, it's not like that. How is that possible? So consequently, the other aspect of what you're saying basically becomes whether you do prayatna in any direction or no, whatever has to happen will happen. No, it is not like that. How can you then you have put aside completely one aspect now of your prayatna. You have gone only in thinking that everything will happen in a predestined way. So ऐसा नहीं हो सकता ना. Are you getting my point?
Yes, but if I see the complete picture, taking karma as a theory, then it's very confusing to understand it.
That is why, karma is a philosophy. You don't bring it to so much at the behavior level. That is what I was exactly telling in the class, right? That there are so many things which are a principle, which are a philosophical part of the explanation, which has its basis, but you cannot bring it to such an extent in the behavior that you come to such a conclusion. That is exactly what happens. That is what I was telling in the class also, right? That philosophy, to handle philosophy also, you need a particular level of maturity. Otherwise, somebody can come to such erroneous conclusions also, that whatever has to happen will happen with whichever wife I get married if it was in my karma. No, it's not like that. How like that? Then why this whole system only of Jyotish Shastra was there to compare horoscope between boy and girl? क्यों था ये system? Because your endeavor, your role has a role there. Once you do that, then something will come. Karma is a very dynamic thing. Please remember, you can't freeze it like that, saying that it will make it so fixed. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता.
So
in practice, you can't do that. Okay, at the end of your life, you can say that whatever happened in my life was my karma, and maybe that will be in your chart also. It is a philosophical inner reality. हर एक inner reality को तुम बाहर लेके आओगे ऐसा तो फिर मुश्किल हो जाएगा. Are you getting the point?
Yes. So can I say it in if I change the words, that suppose if I am predestined to get something, if I choose wisely, the other person can change or alter a part of my destiny?
Please try to remember, karma is very fluid. It is never so fixed. So this is the first thing you have to understand. Like health. Okay. My health is my karma, I can say. But I have to do yoga daily, no? If I don't do yoga daily, I have a stiff back. I have to eat properly. If I eat junk food, again I have a stomach upset. Okay. So I do everything what I'm supposed to do, and then I say that according to my karma, Krishna's grace, Krishna's mercy, I had a decent health in life. But I cannot, just say that, I have stopped exercising. I've stopped going for a walk. I've stopped doing anything, and, karma के हिसाब से जो हो रहा है भाई. ये तो terrible है philosophy का implement. मतलब this is what I was saying, that there are so many things like this which are at a philosophical level of reality. At behavior it is differently done, and that is what these two verses are also talking about. Interestingly, that we're talking, Krishna is there in many things and he's not there also. He's aloof also. He's saying, "Na, I'm not in that." When he's saying, "Nachaham teshu avastitah," I'm not in that. What does that mean? That means he's not in every nitty gritty aspect of this world. People create a mess. Abhi, coronavirus is man-made. It is not God-created thing. Whatever the Nirmala Sitharaman said it, that God gave coronavirus. अरे God मतलब which God? The Abrahamic God, Krishna, Rama, कौन सा भगवान ने दिया ये काम? ये मनुष्य, because of human interaction, so many things happen in this world, right? And because of human stupidity, so right? If you remember, like there is akala mrityu. Akala means what? Akala. It was not determined by kala. हो गया वो बस, उस time हुआ. So in Jyotish also, it is, see, Jyotish also, if you see, na, that's why astrology also, no, it only indicates bad time. Okay, it indicates troubled time. So sometimes the horoscope may say that in this time there are some troubles that are seen. Okay, but it is not so concrete that you have to die at that time. The astrologer will say also, if you cross this, then you will live another 10 years. So देखो ना, प्रभुपाद का TKG diary में, he is sitting with astrologer. Astrologer is saying, अगला 2 महीना बहुत मुश्किल है. अगर ये पार करोगे और 10 साल जियोगे आप. So what does that mean? Tell me, what are the implementation of that? That means, is it so fixed? As in, at least can you understand like that? Like, TKG diary में, if you read, Prabhupada is sitting with astrologer in September 1977, they have got some 2-3 astrologers. They're looking at the chart and they are saying that next 6 months are very dangerous for you, Swamiji. But if you cross this till 1984, you can go. Matlab or 7-8 saal. And then the next trouble comes. So it is so dynamic like that. Na? Matlab, that's why I'm saying na, that both these things are so important. That is where Rishi Bhava is within. Purusha Bhava is outside. So you're a young man, you need a wife, you have to do the Purusha Bhava outside by doing everything properly to get a good wife. And internally maintain that Rishi Bhava. And what is a Rishi Bhava? And not because you're Rishabh, but the Rishi Bhava for everyone, you and me and everyone else, that it is Krishna's grace. I mean, we look at it like that because we are devotees of Krishna. We want to see Krishna everywhere, right? So we will say that it is Krishna's grace that I got a good family. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got. And I genuinely feel it. It's not that artificially I'm feeling, "Arey, मैंने ही सब किया, Krishna ने कुछ नहीं किया." ऐसे internally मैंने, no, it's not like that. Internally, genuinely I'm feeling that, Krishna's mercy only I have good health. I don't say, मैं yoga करता हूँ हर दिन इसलिए मेरा health अच्छी है. Genuinely, it is Krishna's mercy on me that, none of us got corona, none of us got hospitalized, whatever, ठीक ठाक है अभी. Genuinely, we have to feel like that. तो दोनों सच्चे है ना. तो आप एक को नहीं छोड़ सकते. वही तो हम बात कर रहे हैं आज. And that is there in these two verses.
So karma theory is for retrospection.
Karma theory is for retrospection. Karma theory is a philosophy. उसको ऐसा आप practically implement करके band नहीं बजा सकते अपना. कोई नहीं बजा सकता. That's why I said philosophy is to be treated very carefully. Otherwise, it's a double-edged sword. You can bring something into behavior like that. That's why so many statements now like that. They are very, so many things we can discuss unlimited statements like this, which are there. Yeah, sorry about.
It's just adding thing to this thing
Roji,
that
can I add
when
something?
like.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Saragrai Prabhu. You want to add something?
Yes, but just from the astrological perspective, like Roji, I mean, see, it is not like out of the 5 things, which 4 are eternal and 5th one is the karma is not eternal. So I mean, even in case just imagine that the husband has some bad phases in his life, right? So the wife's chart also is seen that she is also facing the same situation at the same time.
Yes. Then only it is.
So that is how the compatibility is.
Yeah. Even children, like Rishabh Prabhu, recently I came across one couple, उनको बच्चे नहीं हो रहे थे, तो माता जी के चार्ट में बच्चे थे, प्रभु जी के चार्ट में डिफिकल्टी था बच्चे का. लेकिन माता जी के चार्ट में बच्चे थे, तो एस्ट्रोलॉजर से देखो एक के बलबूते पे हो जाएगा ये, आप ट्राई करते रहो। आप समझ गए ना? तो ये बहुत फ्लूइड है, ऐसा आप इतना कॉन्क्रीट नहीं कर सकते उसको, इसको बच्चा ही नहीं होगा, ऐसा नहीं बोल सकते एस्ट्रोलॉजर। दैट इज एरोगेंस एक्चुअली। इफ एनी एस्ट्रोलॉजर प्रेडिक्ट्स लाइक दैट ना, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। इट इज टू गिव इंडिकेशन ये।
Okay. And just a follow-up question on this, like when Maharaj says that, or we hear in scriptures also that whatever good comes or bad comes, you have to take it as a mercy of Lord. So how do we understand that moment, that statement? Good though we can understand, then how do we understand the bad part? Like
Yeah,
what
so
you are telling.
Yeah, understood. The bad part is seen in a mercy, in a sense that even if some difficulty comes, I see it as a way to come close to Krishna. Okay, it doesn't mean that I put the blame of that to Krishna. See, it is like this. Suppose if I have good health, whom am I internally giving credit to my good health? Krishna. Right? I say because of Krishna's mercy only, genuinely I have to feel as a devotee that I am having good health. Okay? But suppose if the health goes for a toss and I'm in trouble, I can't now use that same logic and say that, Krishna's curse on me that I have got bad health. Why is Krishna curse like that?
No, not curse, but
so that time what I have to do is I have to use my illness to see how I can come close to Krishna even in that difficulty. That is what Maharaj is saying. Oh, different perspective अलग है उसका. मतलब good में you are giving the result to Krishna. In the bad, you are investing your consciousness with Krishna, but the result is not necessarily offered. As in, you don't give that as a, you don't say that just like I'm offering my, I'm offering manasa deha geha. I'm offering everything. It doesn't mean that if everything is destroyed, that destruction is being offered. No, that you can't do. There you offer only your consciousness.
No, not Puji, as a curse I was asking. I was just asking, like you were telling that one is conscious on a consciousness level. I think it is a mercy to come closer. And also you are also telling just 15-20 minutes back that when this happens, I also understand, I have also to understand that I did something wrong in the journey where this happened. So these two are like, I mean, how to understand these two things? One is like how to mercy, and one part is done by the Lord, and then I am also in the journey. So then both are involved.
Both are involved. See, there you have to see it differently. I told you already what, na? If there is a difficulty, then we see that as an opportunity to come to Krishna. That we have to see.
Correct.
That we have to see. Correct, na?
But I did that wrong thing.
Somebody is on his deathbed. Somebody is on his deathbed. They say that उसने बहुत गलत किया हेल्थ के साथ, इसलिए डेथबेड पे आया. अभी वो बात करने का टाइम चला गया. Correct now. Now you only see that in that situation, use that situation to come close to, like Parikshit Maharaj. He was cursed. He didn't think that it is because of Krishna or whatever, Paramatma only who inspired me to put that snake. No, he just saw that as an opportunity to come close to Krishna. There he didn't bring his action. He didn't bring that. Because there's no use now talking about it. But okay, at death it is fine. But in ordinary situations, it's not always death. Na? Imagine a student is preparing for an exam. He doesn't get the exam. वो मरने नहीं वाला है ना, अभी दूसरा एग्जाम पढ़ाई करना पड़ेगा ना उसको. So there he will. So you understood, na? Death is a completely different thing in one sense, because there तो सब कुछ छोड़ रहे हो तुम. So then you can forget about all this. कहाँ इसमें पढ़ते रहने का कि मैंने एक्शन किया नहीं किया, अभी छोड़ दो यार, मरने वाले हैं, अभी भगवान का शरण लो, बात खत्म. Are you getting it? So that's a little different thing. But if you take other examples in the world, then one will have to just get up and do properly, na? There one will have to reflect properly, na? So the student is studying for an exam, but he didn't study only properly. Then if he failed, now that is not like death. उसको अगला साल वापस पढ़ाई करना पड़ेगा अच्छी तरह से. उसको सोचना पड़ेगा कि नहीं बाबा मैंने पढ़ाई नहीं किया ठीक ठाक. अच्छा मार्क मिला, अच्छा जॉब मिला, then he can say this is Krishna's. He has to feel this is Krishna's grace only. I got a job in Siemens or whatever company.
So it's my fault.
मिला तो तुमको मेहनत करना पड़ेगा ना फिर. Then you'll have to think about it differently, na? You'll have to reflect about that whole reality differently, na?
So it's my fault only, but even in that situation, I have an opportunity to come close to Lord.
That you always have. That
It's my fault, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Rajendra Kumar Prabhu. Go ahead.
Haribol Prabhu. So I put some two statements in the chat. I just wanted to ask whether that statement is complete. because we say Kali Yuga, it favors quarrel and hypocrisy, but that doesn't mean that we allow it to spread, right? We have to okay.
Yes. Yes.
And
Favors. You're right. It favors. At a philosophical level, it favors. It doesn't mean that, we are about 16, 17, 20 people today in this class or group. Correct. It's not that all of us, many of us are doing pretty well in our family life. We are quite happy. Right. It's not that, I'm sure, like at least my experience also, so many devotees, they're doing very nicely in their family. You see in America, why is it 65, 70% divorce? If you take an American civilization, why like that? मतलब आदमी का भी गलती है ना. You can't put everything, you can't put all the buck on Kali Yuga. So that environment may be like that, but that doesn't mean that you have to bring that philosophy in your house, right? You have all the facility to work against it or whatever, right? To do the proper behavior and ensure it is proper. Makes sense?
Yes, bro. So the second thing was about a jealous God, and we have Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, saying that Krishna is autocratic, jealous lover. Can you comment and compare these two statements?
I remember this autocratic. I don't remember this jealous from his perspective. Did you read it in Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's book? I know that he said autocratic. That's fine. Autocratic as in, totally independent and, kind of, he does his own thing. He's his own master, which is perfect. But as far as this word jealous, which is there, it's an extremely, see, I'll tell you, in the rasa perspective, there is jealousy. Yeah? I'll tell you, see, that's a little different thing. Like in rasa perspective, there is all this jealousy. Like you hear all these Vrindavan pastimes, all that happens, Radha Rani, Chandravali and all that, right? So those feelings are over there. But that's at a different level. But at a dharma platform, in terms of the world, Krishna isn't jealous. Certainly not. Are you getting it? Haribol?
So, I heard this in a lecture, Prabhu, not read it anywhere.
I suspect also many times, because we are again a very exclusive Krishna worshipping movement. Sometimes our devotees, I fear, we use these kind of biblical statements also. I have also heard this, Krishna is a jealous lover and all that. See, at rasa level, it is okay. Please remember, there is a difference between rasa and dharma. Rasa perspective means like from Vrindavan perspective. Are you getting it? Like in Vrindavan, you will see these stories, Raghunath Das Goswami sitting and somebody brings in chas from some other village of Chandravali. Story malum hai na aapko? Raghunath Das Goswami sitting in bhajan and someone brings chas from the village of Chandravali and he becomes very angry at that person. Because at rasa level, all these things happen. This jealousy and this exclusive focus on Krishna. This happens at rasa tattva. But not at dharma level in terms of the world. ऐसा नहीं है. Krishna has made so many systems here. ऐसे क्या? समझ गए कि नहीं? मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
I understand the rasa part. So the better way to put it is Krishna saying, Bhoktaram Yagatapasam Sarvalokamaheshwaram. That is the.
अरे भगवत गीता is best ना. भगवत गीता में सब कुछ दिया है ना. क्यों हम अपना दिमाग खराब करने का? मतलब भगवत गीता has said everything properly, perfect. Is that okay?
Yeah. Yes, bro. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other question? Last question we could take. Sorry, we are already over time. I didn't intend to go till 8 o'clock, but if anybody has a question, we can take. Otherwise, we end the day. I thought Gaurav had unmuted himself or something. Okay, I think it's fine with everyone. Okay, thank you. Okay, so maybe it was a little difficult topic or whatever. I don't know whether I was able to convey whatever had to be done. But I think it's a journey study of Bhagavad Gita. So we'll continue. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you so much.
Nitai